Welcome to our YouTube video series on incorporation tips. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular video we'll be discussing the importance of understanding federal incorporations in Canada before jumping too quickly into incorporating your company federally. Now, why do I say this? Well, the thing is, there is what I believe a misperception as to what a federal incorporation entails. And part of it is promulgated by the federal government itself, because the federal government's preference would be to have people incorporate federally as opposed to provincially. And that way the federal government would have an avenue of revenue, both on the incorporation and also on their annual fees that they charge with respect to all federal corporations. Now, why am I cautious on this? Well, where I perceive it, and this is my professional opinion, and it's probably not shared by certain other individuals, and primarily the federal government, is that the federal government sees this as a revenue source in part. They could allow the provinces to do the incorporations and they'd be all good with that. But the federal government decided we're going to offer what we call a federal corporation that has the perception of being able to operate in every province. But when you really think about it, every provincial corporation and even foreign corporations have the capacity to operate in every province. The key, though, and this even applies to federal corporations, is that you have to be extra provincially registered in all those further provinces in which you operate. And the key here is that simply because you incorporate federally does not mean you've automatically registered or extra provincially registered in each of the provinces of Canada. That is not the case. What you do get is, they claim, some additional protection relative to your name. Now, this is somewhat true, but a lot of the protection you're going to get nowadays is either with the old school trademark and or through the registration of the name as a domain name, and then you've got protections there. Now, from the perspective of operations, what happens is that you still have to extra provincially register in every province. And extra provincial registration in every province, or even in a single province, is not without cost, with the exception of really one province, that primarily being the province of Ontario, which is shared by the capital of Canada in Ottawa. And in Ontario, you can extra provincially register, and the system online for the federal corporation system allows you to do that without any additional charge. And for the most part, most people don't really have to pay an annual fee with respect to maintaining their extra provincial registration in Ontario, unlike other provinces. There are technically fees they charge, but they aren't to the level where other provinces are that charge you a fee on an annual basis for an annual return. And if you fail to file and pay the fee for the annual return year after year, you could have the corporation struck or the extra provincial registration struck. So what does this mean? Well, what it means is that you're going to incorporate federally, believe you're saving yourself a bit of money, although you're going to now have to pay year over year a federal fee. And then with the exception of Ontario, in every other province, you are also going to technically have to extra provincially register. I understand that a lot of companies fail to do this, but it's actually a requirement by law. And the provinces continue for this. So now what you have is, once you've done things properly, you've paid the incorporation fee in the federal level, you pay the extra provincial fee at the provincial level, which is oftentimes about the same amount as the incorporation fee in that province. And now you're having to pay annually a federal fee and annually a provincial fee. And you have to do it for every province. So where is the real value in that? Because if you're really operating from the other standpoint, if you're going to be operating and you meet the definition requirement to have to register in those other provinces, well, you're going to have to extra provincially register them. So if you have a company in Alberta and you're also going to have operations in, let us say, Manitoba, same as with a federal corporation, you're going to have to extra provincially register in Manitoba, and then you're going to have to pay the fees for Manitoba. So it works out to the same, but unlike the federal corporation, you could now have federal corporation starts off in Alberta, then goes to Manitoba. You could have yourself 3 initial fees and 3 annual fees. Or you could have, if you start off provincially, 2 initial fees, 2 annual fees. And then there's another aspect. The Western provinces came up with an agreement that allows them on a provincial level to very cost efficiently and effectively allow themselves to extra provincially register within each of the provinces. And this is expanding out to Manitoba, which means you've got an even greater cost savings, because what would normally be a higher price, so if you federally incorporated a business that was started off in Alberta and then was going to also have operations in British Columbia and in Saskatchewan, you would have at the federal level, if you would do it, you'd have the federal fee, you would have the Alberta extra provincial fee, the BC extra provincial fee, and the Saskatchewan extra provincial fee. And then you would have to pay ongoing fees on an annual basis in 4 jurisdictions. How do you deal with this? Well, if you incorporate in Alberta, well, you have the Alberta fee for incorporation. Then, based on the agreement between the provinces, you have a nominal cost, which is just a fraction of the extra provincial charge that would have to be paid for each of British Columbia and Saskatchewan. You've significantly reduced those costs. You've avoided the cost of the federal level. You've taken out the federal level on an annual basis, and you've advantaged yourself to a considerable cost savings. And what have you lost? You have lost the moniker of it being a federal corporation. And that is really, in my estimation, all that you're losing. Because if you properly protect it in other ways, the name, you're good and safe. And you've actually saved yourself a considerable amount of money, especially at the outset, but even year over year. And why are you paying that? So you really have to ask yourself, what is the benefit of federal incorporation beyond perception? Because it is not really a cost savings. And you can put yourself into a lot of trouble if you try to do it as a cost savings measure and you do stuff incorrectly, especially when you're operating in Western Canada. Because in Western Canada, you can do even greater cost savings if you avoid being drawn down the misperceived route of federal incorporation. So hopefully that provides you with some insight. If you want to undertake these kind of corporate actions, please feel free to contact ourselves, and we can work with you on putting together the right corporation, covering all your bases, and making it an effective and efficient process to allow your business to be properly protected and to business to grow in a cost-effective manner. Thank you.